Hello, I am Steve and welcome back to Book 2 of the Ielts. In the first lesson of Chapter 2, we're going to discuss describing people, which is one of the common topics in Part 2 of the speaking test. In Part 2 of the speaking test, one of the common tasks is to describe people. For some, this is the most worrisome task because it's difficult to continuously talk about a person for 1 to 2 minutes. In addition, the 4 criteria should manifest in your answer. As you know, the structure may change depending on the question. The cue card question has a main question and at least 3 to 4 sub-questions. In answering, the sequence of your answer does not necessarily need to be the same with the sequence of the sub-questions, but you are encouraged to answer them chronologically so that you and the examiner will not be confused with the organisation of your points. The step we will discuss can be used in most cue card questions for describing people. This step will be your introduction. You should always make a good impression at the beginning of your answer by using expressions such as these examples. From a simple introduction, build your answer by using a compound sentence. This can be done using a relative clause to provide information about the person you will talk about. There are 2 main types of relative clause: non-defining and defining. A non-defining relative clause gives extra, unnecessary information about the subject. If we were to remove the relative clause, the sentence would still stand on its own. Take note that you have to pause at the beginning and the end of the relative clause. Look at this example. A defining relative clause does not give information but is necessary to complete the meaning of a sentence. If it's removed from the sentence, the meaning of the sentence will change. The relative clause defines who the person is. There's no need to pause at the beginning of the relative clause, but you may pause at the end to cut the long sentence. Look at the example. After saying who he or she is, talk about how you met him or her. If you're talking about a person not related to you, it is best to explain how you met. To effectively do this, it's best to use the simple past and past continuous tenses. The past continuous tense is used to talk about longer situations that began in the past, and the simple past describes the action that happened quickly ended. Here is an example. Observe how the past and past continuous tenses are used in this example. Your coherence will also be tested in this step, since you have to describe someone in an organised manner. You have to describe the person's physical appearance, personality, or habit, depending on the question being asked. It's easy to describe someone using adjectives, so learn as many adjectives as you can. Try to use synonyms of basic adjectives that you know to exhibit your knowledge of different lexical resources. Here are some words you can use to describe a person's personality. To describe a person's physical appearance, use these words. To make your description more interesting, use adverbs of frequency to talk about habits or personality. Here are some adverbs of frequency that you can use. You can also talk about how often the person does or did things by following these structures. Look at how adjectives were used in this sample answer. Describing someone is easy, but making a long description can be complicated. To help you describe a person, another strategy you can use is to tell an anecdote to describe this person's personality. An anecdote is a short and amusing story about a real person or incident. Look at this example. This step is most often present in the cue card question. If you used an anecdote in the previous step, it will be easy to say how the person influenced you. By using the third conditional, you'll be able to answer the question how and share the result of his or her influence on you. These are how third conditionals are formed. Next is to discuss the change or changes that happened because of his or her influence in at least 2 compound or complex sentences. To do this, use the present perfect tense. Look at this example. This step is where you state your admiration for the person. Depending on the task card, this step can also be done after you introduce the person you choose to describe. There should be a reason why you're describing this certain person, and that is mostly because of admiration. The following expressions can be used to start your sentence. It is also possible to state your desire to imitate this person. This can be done with the use of hope. Look at its structure. You can also use would like, would love. Look at the examples. Since your answer for the cue card question is long, control your speech rate. Use conversational speech rate steadily and change to fast or slow when needed. Do not talk quickly, since this will cause you to mumble or mispronounce words. If this happens, your score for some of the Ielts criteria will be compromised. Do not be pressured by the time and stay focused in organising your thoughts. Now let's put all these steps together and make an answer. With these 4 easy steps, you'll be able to describe any person you know. That ends our lesson for today. Make sure to review your notes and practice. Thank you for listening and see you next time. Bye!